Q&A time. Let's get started. Does rack pull above the knee build quads? Kind of. It's not really a hamstring and glute developer. I mean, certainly there's some isometric contraction going on, but for the most part, it's a quad partial movement. So you're initiating the weight off the pins using your quad. So I believe that it will have carryover to all of your other partial movements. So a standard rack pull above the knee will help you on a behind the back rack pull above the knee, or a snatch grip rack pull above the knee, or a trap bar deadlift using high handles and pulling off blocks. It helps you with partial leg strength, and it can also be beneficial for certain athletes in that respect as well. I would say fighters in particular, because you're not going to really be in a really deep position when you're doing regular punches, boxing in particular. What do you think breaks the weight off the pins? It's your quads. It's partial quad strength. So it's not really the best for building your glutes and hamstrings, but it will build your quads. It'll build that quad strength. Now, in terms of hypertrophy, I don't consider that optimal. No, I mean it's specific for partial leg strength. That's what it's going to do for you. But if you want to build big legs, big quads, squats are by far a better alternative. Hey Alex, do you think heavy power shrugs, 5-10 reps, are better than heavy rack pulls above the knee, 3 to 5 for big upper back? Absolutely not. You're talking about the upper back? Well, no. Rack pull above the knee, you can use a lot more weight. And if we're talking about 3 to 5 reps here, the weighted stretch is, like, you can't even compare the two. You just can't compare. Rack pull above the knee, one of the reasons why I started doing them was not for the traps. It was for the upper back. That's what I noticed the most from that lift. My upper back would get mad sore, and I kept getting all kinds of development in that region. Eventually, I discovered the trap building benefits. But for me, initially, it was for the upper back. And I definitely believe that it's far superior to the power shrug if that's your purpose. I mean, power shrugs are great for the traps, and I consider it a secondary movement for building the traps. And it's fantastic, and I highly recommend it. I've always talked about power shrugs on this channel, but I think rack pulls are superior, generally speaking, especially when we talk about the upper back. So that's just my take on it. Next question. Hey Alex, any tips to make my neck flexion and extension harder? I'm waiting for my harness. It is uncomfortable to progress without it. Well, what's uncomfortable about it? Is it because you're restrictive in your hand size? Because if you're doing 90-pound neck curls for like 100 repetitions, then yes, that's definitely a problem. I mean, your grip's going to run out faster than your neck burns out. So what is my advice for you? Make your form better. Make your form as crisp as possible. Instead of increasing the weight, instead of inducing progressive overload through conventional means, control the tempo a little bit more. Control that tempo a little bit. Use your hands less, use your abs less, and make it more strict. A simple thing like that will prolong your neck training for a little bit before you get that harness. Another solution could be to use bands. Bands will change the game forever. Watch my collaboration video I did with Scott Herman Fitness and look at the various versions that I show you. So using bands has unlimited progress pretty much. So I would definitely recommend that in the meantime. But your main thing should be cleaning up your form using bands. And one fun recommendation is to do very high volume. So do 3 sets of 100 on your neck curls. Yeah, 3 sets of 100. Don't do a classic 3x10 or 4x25. No, 3 sets of 100. Or if that's too easy, do 3-minute rounds. 3 minutes of neck extensions, going really, really fast. That's what a lot of wrestlers do. That's what a lot of field athletes do, a lot of fighters. So try that out. You can get a lot without using a harness. If I want to get my strict press to elite numbers over 110 kilos, is it enough to use the Westide Book of Methods, or do you think Natural Enhance is more specific and will do better? Well, the Westide Book of Methods is one of the greatest systems of all time, and I really, really like Louis Simmons, and I respect him tremendously. And he changed my life personally, and I think that it is the best system for powerlifting. I know some guys might disagree with that, but I'm pro Westside all the way. That said, I don't think it's the most optimal system for raising your overhead press due to the exercise selection and because the percentages on dynamic effort days are not catered for overhead press. Last I checked, there's no charts for the overhead press in that book, or even in general. Louis doesn't talk about raising the overhead press. He uses that as a supplementary movement in some cases. I would say most of the guys don't do it. You have exceptions like Burley Hawk there, but not too many guys using conjugate are performing the overhead press. It's not the main feature of their program. Whereas Naturally Enhanced, it's very much like Westside, but instead of doing bench press variations, it's overhead press variations. So what I did is I flipped the script. Instead of being the big 3, it's unconventional lifts and a bunch of other stuff. And one of the key things of Naturally Enhanced, the presses at least, is overhead pressing. I really, really specialize in that. And that's why my shoulders look so capped. That's why I'm pretty good at overhead pressing as a whole, even though my leverages are kind of bad for it, you know? So I definitely think that the Naturally Enhanced, at least like the exercise selection section, is going to help you out so much. For that reason alone, and because of the fact that I give you the right percentages that you need, it's going to be flawless for you. And of course, you can use it as a template. You don't have to follow the program exactly as written. You can do some modifications and you can incorporate some more strongman type techniques. But if we're talking about like what's more specific to the OHP, naturally enhanced hands down. And that's not to knock Louis in any type of way. I love the guy, man. I really respect him. And I think that his stuff is the best for powerlifting for the big three. But for the overhead press, you need something a bit more specific. And I think that my system, if you look at the shoulder section, you'll understand exactly why I'm right. Can I go 5 sets on the exercise in the novice program if I'm cutting? And I'm also taking creatine. I always find these comments funny because people think that creatine is some magical thing that's going to give you all kinds of gains. And I mean, it's not going to override your cut if you ask me. If you're cutting seriously and you're trying to maximize your volume on naturally enhanced, you're doing 5 sets, you're hitting all the accessories, you're doing all that, I don't recommend it. You think creatine is going to save you from that? I mean, guys have trouble recovering on the 5 sets, even when they're in a surplus. It's hardcore volume here, a lot of workload. So creatine is not going to save you, bro. Creatine is not a steroid. It's extra. It's a little bit extra, but we're not talking serious gains here. So I would recommend, even if you are taking creatine, lower the volume. You'll get better recovery and you'll make more gains during this cut. No need to max it out. Even if you were in a surplus doing the 5 sets, we're not talking significant gains in the first place. Maybe 10% the absolute max. So do yourself a favor, do the 3 sets, not the 5. And don't think that creatine is going to make you look like this shredded, jacked monster and get all kinds of gains. It's not magical in that way. What's your opinion on weighted inverted rows for big upper back? I struggle with pull-ups. Would these be a good alternative? Well, it's a very good exercise, certainly. And I think that as a bodyweight movement, it is the best thing you can do in terms of rows. Horizontal rows, inverted rows are fantastic for that. They're really, really good. And I gained a lot of respect for them because I've been doing a lot of gymnastics. And I can tell you that they're not easy. I do it with rings, and I adjust it so that the leverages are very hard. And it's difficult. If you actually touch your chest, guys, and you're not cheating, you're not bouncing, you're not using your legs to assist you, it's difficult, man. And I'm a guy who rows 365 for reps. You've seen this on camera in the past. Of course, a little bit of cheat form there, but you saw it, right? You saw me pen lay row in the 300s for reps. But when you give me an inverted row, strict form, touching the chest with the pauses and everything, it's hardcore. So if you're doing some weighted inverted rows to build your back because you're a bodyweight athlete of some type, then that's fantastic. Now, do I think it can replace the weighted pull-up or just standard pull-ups? No, I don't. I think that the pull-up is your base, and everyone should try to shoot for a stronger pull-up for the most part. Even though it's not going to get you the most yoke there, it's still to me, it's a fundamental movement. Like, consider me biased there, but I want guys having a strong pull-up. I don't want just people doing lat pull-downs. I mean, I like seeing some good pull-ups, at least being able to pull your own body weight for 10 reps. I think that's a nice feat of strength, and it'll do you some good if you shoot for that. So I think you should get some pull-ups. If you can't do them now, I mean, look, keep doing your inverted rows, hit some pull-ups at the same time, because pull-ups, man, very, very, very good exercise. Like, I cannot recommend them enough. I think it's one of the best movements of all time. So I think you should be building your pull-up and use both, honestly, use both. Do weighted pull-ups, do inverted rows for volume. Like, for me, I do both, man. And it's fantastic this way. So that's what I would absolutely recommend. What's your opinion on Athlean X's new video about tricep size? He states that the overhead extension harms the shoulder. Would you recommend the exercise he showed as a substitute to your novice program, overhead extension? Well, I can't say I disagree with Athlean X. I mean, a lot of his videos, when he talks about pain, he's pretty much right on the money. And it's good that a guy with that following is giving that type of advice. Actually, I changed my stance on the behind the neck press because of Athlean X's video on the behind the neck press. I always thought that it was a mobility issue, but then he discussed how it was a structural issue. And I've applied a lot of other philosophies like that into other movements like conventional deadlifts for recreational lifters, and how block pulls are generally recommended due to less shearing force on the spine, less hip flexion, things of that nature. So I like his channel, and I like what he promotes. And I certainly agree that the overhead extension for some people can cause discomfort. Although, in this case, I would not state that it's a structural issue. I think there are ways that you can make it more safe, and you just have to experiment and find out what works for you. For instance, doing an overhead extension with a rope, like a cable rope, I don't think it's that bad on the shoulders, to be honest. I think the version that he's talking about is when you're standing up and you have your arms behind your body, particularly with a bulky dumbbell. Then you're restrictive, and that's where things get a bit unnatural. But there are ways you can maneuver it so that you don't get shoulder pain. Now, in regards to what he said about the long-headed triceps, he's 100% correct. That's what's really going to add to that mass. The backside of your arm. A lot of guys, when they do presses, it's a medial, lateral head. That's why you have all these powerlifters with strong benches, very bad long head. And the long head is really the secret to looking big as a drug-free lifter, arm-wise. If you want upper arms, it's long head. That's why you got to get that shoulder flexion in. And the movements that he showed are fantastic, as well as things like the body weight tricep extension. I've been doing a lot of those since I've been performing gymnastics, and it's absolutely amazing. So I definitely like the fact that he's promoting long head training. I think this is what we need in the fitness community. With to stop hearing nonsense that, oh, just do close grip bench. I think that's the worst advice in YouTube fitness, and people should be doing more long head work, period. So I like his stance on that, and I agree 100%. The only thing I might have minor disagreements with is the safety of overhead extensions. I wouldn't really call it the same scenario as a behind the neck press. I would not make that comparison whatsoever, and I think most people could do it safely if they figure out what works best for them. I've recently started to feel shoulder pain from Jefferson rack pull. What might be the cause? It feels like it happens because of the twisting nature of the lift. I'll tell you what's going on. Internal shoulder rotation. Because your body is twisted, one of your shoulders is probably more internally rotated, and that's the shoulder you're feeling the pain with. I can almost guarantee it. That's pretty much what's going on here. Now, what can you do to get rid of this problem? Best thing, double overhand with straps, hands down. I always found that mixed grip Jefferson pulls feel very weird on the shoulders. I experienced the same thing myself. Whenever I would do mixed grip, it twists your body even more. Just look at what happens when someone does a conventional deadlift. A conventional deadlift twists your body because of the mixed grip. Now imagine if you're doing a Jefferson deadlift. That effect is pronounced even more. So I think double overhand will save that. There'll be less twisting and you'll have less internal rotation, absolutely. Now some guys might say that you could use an underhand grip for the shoulder that is experiencing pain. I would say, okay, try it out. But I will say this. With Jefferson lifts, you got to be very particular with your hand placement. Like I find, for example, if you put right leg forward, you got to have left hand under. And if you got left leg forward, you got to have right hand under if you want optimal leverages. So if you're willing to sacrifice your leverages in order to get that external rotation, then I would say it's fine. But I really think the main culprit here is the fact that you're using mixed grip and you have that twisting going on there. Another thing too, by the way, is experiment with the positioning. Experiment a little bit. Try to get your body more squared off. Maybe when you step in front of the bar, you're twisting your body way too much. So you have to experiment with your grip width, how wide or close you're grabbing it, your foot stance, all these factors. And of course, use double overhand with straps. No point trying to be Mr. Macho, okay? Does MMA, KravMaga, heavy bag work count as GPP? In my eyes, absolutely. And in fact, that's pretty much what I do exclusively now for GPP. I only do boxing rounds. I do boxing, Muay Thai. Okay, I do 30 minutes. I do 10 rounds. 2 minutes straight, 1 minute off. And it's fantastic. And I really consider it one of the best forms of GPP imaginable. Now, for some people, that would be SPP, if you're a competitive fighter, that is. But if you're a recreational lifter and you're just doing cardio boxing or cardio Muay Thai or whatever, then I call it GPP. Let's just label it as conditioning work. It's good conditioning work. It's going to get you very fit. You're going to burn all kinds of calories. Like if you're doing between 7 and 10 rounds, you're burning over 450 calories. Easy. If we're talking about going for 25, 30 minutes, it's hardcore stuff. It gets you extremely fit. It builds your muscle endurance at the same time. You're going to feel your shoulders when you're doing this boxing. You're going to feel your core. You're going to feel your legs. Everything is so good. So do I consider conditioning work? You fucking bet. Absolutely. And you're going to get mad fit doing that. Yes, you will. How do I progress on shrugs or neck? For months, I've been doing the same weight. Well, it's time you change the parameters, man. There's something that you're not doing correct. Because if you've been lifting the same weight for months on end, there's a problem here, my friend. So what do you do when you stall on your bench press? Do you just keep repeating the same thing over and over again? No. You mix it up. Maybe you switch to the paused bench press instead of touch and go. Maybe you start doing more dumbbell press in your accessories. Maybe you start including a form of periodization. Maybe you start using bands. Whatever it may be, you change the parameters. You change the percentages, the sets, the reps, the exercise, all these things. Now, you want to do the same for your shrugs. If you've plateaued on a regular shrug, well, stop doing the regular shrug. Do a trap bar shrug for a few months. Milk that for a little bit. Then start doing snatch grip shrug. Then start doing a machine shrug. Then start doing a dumbbell shrug. Behind the back shrug. Change it up. Don't just do the same thing over and over again. How about changing the sets and reps? You used to doing 3x10. Okay, do 5 sets of 20. 5 sets of 20. Okay, use the power shrugs. Do strict shrugs for a little bit. Alternate back and forth. Maybe you got to focus on your rows a little bit. Focus on your rows with cheat form, but then strict shrug. And then mix it up. Then do strict row, cheat shrug. You see what I'm saying? You just got to be a little bit creative. And for the neck, it's the same exact thing. Just change up the variation. You used to doing the standard neck curl. Do it with a harness on. Put the weight behind your head. feel the weight stretching. You just got to be creative. Watch my videos. I mean, I made a lot talking about strength training strategies. These videos will help you out. And there's so many things you could do, honestly. What are your thoughts on doing a trap bar deadlift at the height of a rack pull above the knee? It can certainly be done. And I think it's a fantastic way to overload. It's just another variation. Some guys like to go behind the back. Some guys, they do a snatch grip above the knee. I mean, all kinds of different styles. I love the trap bar deadlift above the knee. The only problem is that most trap bars don't have that much weight capacity. I mean, I maxed it out at 700 pounds, and this was off the floor. If you make me go above the knee, I have to do reps of 20 or more. That's the only way I'd be able to get an effective workout with the trap bar. And also, it doesn't even fit in the rack. So you have to put on blocks. And now you end up smashing up your blocks, and it's really annoying to set up on blocks, by the way, since the weight's not floating there. So it's a great lift. It's fantastic. I know Phil from Phil Would Expose released a video on it. Except for him, it was below the knee, which makes a bit more sense since it's a trap bar there. But it's a great lift, absolutely. It's just another tool in the toolbox. You can consider it like a semi-snatch grip. It's not going to get in the way. It's not going to hit your body. So you can't really use your thighs to push the weight up. Trap bars are also like more durable. They don't bend as much. So that could be beneficial for your equipment safety as well. So I dig it. It's a great exercise. What's your take on front rack holds? Cheers from Malaysia. That's cool, man. I say cheers from Canada. So, front rack holds, fantastic. Really, really good. A lot of Olympic weightlifters do this, actually. It'll overload your upper back like crazy. It'll overload the upper back. It's going to build your core strength as well. So I highly recommend it. If you want to add that as a supplementary movement, maybe at the end of your workout, or maybe even as a core exercise, say you did your regular workout, instead of doing exerter holds, you do front squat holds, it's going to build that thoracic strength, build the midsection. It's amazing. And imagine when you do a regular front squat after, and you've been used to super maximal loads. It's going to feel light as hell. You're going to unrack it, you'll be like, damn, because you built that strength in that unracked position. The unrack is going to be easy. So psychologically now, when you go down the hole, you're going to be like, okay, I can get this. I find that's a big thing too. When you unrack the front squat, if your brain says, oh crap, this is really, really heavy, you start getting doubts. But if you do a lot of overloading work, front rack holds, I think you're in the money, absolutely. The only thing I'd be worried about is possibly the shoulders, your shoulder longevity, but beyond that, it's fantastic. Yo, Alex, what's your opinion on reverse pyramid training? I think reverse pyramid training is absolutely amazing, and it's honestly just a fancy word for back off sets. That's all it is. You work up to one peak set with a heavy weight, and then you gradually reduce the weight in the upcoming sets, and you just increase the reps. That's all it is. It's just back off sets. Time tested. It's been done for decades and decades and decades. I want to say centuries. It's a very basic tool. It works. It makes sense. I don't have much else to say about it. It's very effective. I use it all the time, and I'm going to keep using it because it's damn good. Alex, what's your opinion on fasted weight training early in the morning? Well, I'm not really a fan of it. I love cardio in the morning. I think that is fantastic. It's good. It feels good. But weight training, I always feel that I'm going to get snapped up. Even in the early day or so, I'm not primed up that way. My best workouts have always been at nighttime. I feel that it takes some hours to get your nervous system primed up and everything. I'm just speaking off my experience here because I'm a guy who goes very heavy in the gym. I do a lot of 1 rep maxes and I go hard. I need intensity. And I can't be that intense if I just woke up. It can't be done. Even if you give me some coffee, I can't do it. I need at least a meal in me, at least one meal, or if I'm in a fasted state, it has to be later on in the day. But if you just wake up, you have your coffee, maybe some water, and then 30 minutes later you're in the weight room, oh man. For me, that's an injury waiting to happen. Whenever I've done that, I've always felt a bit achy because I'm so out of it that my form turns to garbage. So I've always increased my chance of injury when I did that, and my strength was never good, ever. Like, I just can't lift heavy that early in the morning. It cannot be done for me. So that's my experience here. Again, you might be different. I don't know. But I think that most people would generally prefer to train a bit later, and they will perform better doing this if they at least have one meal in them or it's delayed, at least delayed by 2 hours or something. But if you just woke up, you had a coffee, you drive to the gym, and now you got to lift heavy weights, 1 rep maxes, it's like, how are you going to do it? I don't know. I'm just speaking off my experience here. You do what you got to do. I've started doing behind the back deadlifts. The bar always hits my calves, and I struggle locking it out. Is my form off if this is happening? No, it's pretty normal. That's exactly what should happen. The bar is going to scrape up, and there's nothing you can do about it. The bar is behind your body, not in front. When you do a deadlift, a conventional deadlift, It scrapes up your shins, right? Okay. Well, when you do it behind the back, it scrapes up your calves. Part of the game. So my advice to wear pants, especially if the bar has aggressive knurling. Otherwise, you're going to get some scraped calves, man. It's not going to be fun. So that's all there is to it. Wear some pants and man up. And honestly, you'll get used to it. Eventually, the thing is this too. You're not used to the form and you haven't perfected the movement pattern. So it's a little bit awkward. But once you get it down, once you do enough repetitions of it, it's going to glide up naturally. It's going to glide in a nice, smooth movement pattern. I'm just speaking in general terms here. Sometimes when you do one or maxes, it's going to look ugly as hell, especially the lockout. That's happened to me numerous times, especially when the straps slip out. Not really fun, but it's doable. It's very doable. Just keep perfecting that technique. Wear some pants, get used to it, and you're not going to notice this anymore. It's only at the beginning. Like the first time I did it behind the back, I was like, whoa. It kept scraping up against the back of my legs, and I hated the exercise. But when I realized that it was so safe on the lower back, that's when I knew this was like one of the best ways to pull off the floor. So just get used to it, man. Hammer in on that technique. You'll be fine. Alpha, can your naturally enhanced program be used for beginners? Absolutely. I've had many novices use the system with great success. I've had some serious before and afters with this. One of them, I never released it to the public, but I think I will soon. His name is Damon, just so you know. Blew my mind. The guy lost all kinds of pounds, and he went from a freaking novice to like really late intermediate. Some might even classify him as advanced. The gains that he made were out of this world, and I've seen a lot of novices make similar gains as well. I mean, I get Instagram DMs, bro, of people flexing their necks. You see it before and after, like, bro, I gained 2 inches on my neck. I see people sending me pictures of their traps. I mean, even if you look at the hashtags, go on Instagram, type in the hashtags for naturally enhanced or hashtag yoked or hashtag alpha destiny or out alpha. Look at when people tag me, bro. And you're seeing all the proof is right there. People are getting yoked following my stuff. My shit is one of the best systems of all time for real drug-free lifters who want to get big. It's really effective. And there's some guys that I've worked with personally as well who literally went from skinny neck and no traps to being some people even more jacked than me. So it's very effective for novices. You just have to calibrate the system a little bit more. So instead of rotating the exercise every week, you got to do every 3 weeks. And of course, don't be so complicated with the exercise selection. Keep it more basic, you know. But it's going to work. I can promise you it's going to work. If you're a novice lifter and you run my program, Naturally Enhanced, you are going to get yoked, especially the neck. I can promise you this. If you're a novice and you run my system for about 3 months, your neck's going to get much wider. I know this to be true. That's a fact. If you run my system, your neck's going to get wider. Maybe an inch or two. Fast. So it works. It really works for beginners. Can you train your jaw to look more attractive, and do you know some exercises? Yeah, sort of. The first thing you could do is drink more water because you probably have a lot of water retention in the face. Okay, so you want to get rid of that. I would also say cutting out your salt can be beneficial. That's step one. Step number two, lose some body fat. You can probably see in my face, man, but I've lost a lot of weight. And the first thing that I noticed was like more prominent jaw. Like the jawline and everything, it's just everything's looking much more tight up here. So if you lose some weight, that's going to have a major impact. Thirdly, facial hair. Grow a little stubble area. Make sure it's nice and clean, like under the neckline. And that's going to enhance the jawline that you already have. It's good to have some type of facial hair. Okay, even if you're lean, a stubble is still beneficial. A stubble is always good, regardless if you're shredded or not. It's going to enhance your leanness in terms of the face. And then also I'd recommend that you chew a lot of gum, like hard gum. That's really going to build the muscles itself, which it could be done. Some guys recommend certain products that you shove in your mouth and you chew on it, but I mean, just get some hard gum. It'll get the same effect, and also it'll probably not ruin your teeth, you know, because if you're not an orthodontist and the thing's not calibrated for you, I believe that it possibly could cause shifting, you know. Keep it basic. Just eat hard foods, chew on some gum, and maybe do some band exercises, like in your mouth. So if you're going to do a neck curl, put the band in your mouth and then work your neck that way. Little things like that. But yeah, that's what I recommend to get a nice jawline. All right, last question of the week, guys. Alex, I'm really depressed because I'm not getting anywhere in my life due to being shy my whole life. I feel like I'm just wasting my life away, and that makes me even more miserable. Have you ever felt the same way? Well, I can certainly relate on the point of being shy. Growing up, I was a shy kid. I didn't talk much. I had a very small group of friends, and I tended to myself. I've always been this way. And I had very bad social skills when talking about regular things. I was a gamer nerd, so I was definitely a very shy kid, very socially awkward. But I overcame it. And although I'm still weird in a sense, which I completely embrace, the difference between you and me is that I didn't just feel sorry for myself. Whenever I felt that way, I grabbed my fucking balls and I did something about it. I never allowed myself to complain and whine about my circumstances. I've always tried to raise my level in all walks of life. When I had trouble meeting women, for instance, what did I do? I started researching. I had mentors. And I started going out and getting rejected a bunch of times. You know how many times I've been rejected, bro? A lot of times, probably over 100. I've been rejected over and over and over again. That's what it took for me, okay? Failure. I failed so many freaking times. Eventually, I got success. And that's part of the game. It's a numbers game. And the same thing in my life, too, guys. Very socially awkward. I couldn't read social cues. I had trouble with this stuff. But I wanted to conquer it. I bought freaking books on the subject. I attended seminars. I watched videos. I mean, I did everything in my power to become a better man. And I'm always trying to evolve. And I never said, oh man, I'm so shy and I'm so depressed. I'm just going to lie down and drink away my sorrows and cry and do all this shit. Fuck that, man. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, bro. Stop it. Do something about it. What are you going to do about it? You saw my video. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Are you just going to keep crying there and sitting around saying, man, I'm shy. Okay, what the fuck are you going to do about the shyness? What are you going to do about it? I say get off your ass. Start talking to people. Start getting out there. Stop cooping up in your house all day, man. I get it. You like to be by yourself. That's cool. But, dude, you got to get serious. Do you want to conquer this or not? When I wanted to conquer this problem, I went ahead and conquered it. And I conquered it fast, real fast. And eventually it became one of my strong suits. Just look at me on camera. A lot of guys say that I'm a pretty good public speaker, that I have good camera speaking skills. Watch my older videos. See how true that was. Back in the day, I was horrible. I was awkward in front of a camera. I didn't have an experience. The more you do something, the better you get it. The more practice you have, the better it's going to be. Sure, we got genetics. Definitely. I'm a huge believer in genetics. Absolutely. I think your genetics will dictate your behavior as well as your intelligence. So there's things to consider here. And maybe I was born to be this way. I would say I was born to be this way. It's in my genes. It's in me. But beyond that, I never made excuses for myself. When I was shy, I said, fuck this shyness. I'm not going to live like this. When I saw people getting success, I said, I want to be like those motherfuckers. And I surrounded myself with people that were better than me. I never allowed myself to just complain about my situation. You do something about your situation. You man up, you invest in some resources to help you, and you conquer it. You conquer your fears. You get some discipline over your emotions. Discipline should be the foundation of your life. Now how you feel. You feel sad. You feel shy when you want to talk to people. Well, how bad do you want to get rid of that? How bad do you want to really? How bad? What are you willing to do to become a better speaker? To relate to people more? What are you going to do about it, man? To me, it's very simple. Invest in some resources and get some practical experience. Get out there, expose yourself to the world, get rejected a bunch of times because it's going to happen, my friend, and enjoy the fruits of your labor because ultimately you will succeed. If you have a plan and you follow through with the right action, and you keep persevering over a long period of time. This takes years, by the way. Eventually, you're going to overcome this. Like nowadays, no shyness, man. I can do anything. I'm not shy whatsoever. None. I still tend to myself because that's my personality, but I have no shyness whatsoever. And that's because I conquered it. So that's what you have to do. Conquer your fears. So that said, folks, hope you enjoyed this Q&A video. If you got more questions, leave them down below, and I will talk to you all next week.